I was about to get on an elevator at a shopping mall when I felt a sudden, inexplicable wave of pure dread. A silent, internal scream telling me, "Do not get in." I hesitated and let the doors close without me. A moment later, the lights on the floor indicator went dark, and a loud, grinding screech echoed down the elevator shaft, followed by the distant sound of the alarm bell ringing. A warning unheard. That same evening, I was walking home through the park. A large, barking dog off its leash came bounding towards me, its teeth bared. I froze, a jolt of pure, primal fear shooting through me. The dog was a foot away, ready to leap, when it suddenly stopped. It let out a high-pitched, terrified yelp, tucked its tail between its legs, and fled, as if it had seen something standing right behind me. A fear answered. I was 6 marks in, and my life was no longer my own. I was being guided, protected, manipulated by an unseen, unknowable force. The feeling of being watched was a certainty now. I began to see it more clearly, though never directly. In the reflection of my dark TV screen, I'd see a shape standing in the room behind me. It was tall, stooped like an old man, with arms that were too long, their hands almost touching the floor. In the reflection of a shop window as I walked by, I'd see it, a dark, hulking shape, following a few paces behind me, always keeping to the shadows. The 7th and 8th marks brought it closer, from a visual presence to a physical one. I started to notice a strange smell in my apartment, a smell that would come and go without reason. It was a heavy, musky animal scent. The smell of damp, rich earth, and something else, something like wet fur. A scent of the old earth. One night, I was lying in bed, the lights on, my nerves a raw, jangled mess. I was drifting in that gray space before sleep when I felt something brush against my outstretched hand. It was a coarse, bristly feeling, like touching a thick, wiry animal pelt. I snatched my hand back with a choked cry, my heart exploding in my chest. I was alone in the room. There was nothing there. A touch of cold fur. I was 9 marks in. The terror was a constant companion now. I knew the 10th mark was coming, and I knew that with it would come the final, terrible reveal. I didn't know what I was more afraid of, the waiting or the seeing. The 9th mark came last night. I had finally managed to fall into a fitful, exhausted sleep. I was woken up, but by a voice. A low, guttural, wet sound whispered directly into my ear. It wasn't a language I knew, but I felt the meaning of the sound in my bones. It was a word that meant mine, a voice not your own. I spent the rest of the night huddled in a corner of my living room, clutching a baseball bat, watching the shadows, waiting for the dawn. Tonight, I knew it would end, the final mark. I sat on my couch, the TV off, all the lights in my apartment blazing. The feeling of the presence in the room was overwhelming. It was a physical pressure, a thickness in the air. The musky, animal scent was overpowering. I could feel it just there, in the dark hallway that led to my bedroom. Waiting. I don't know what came over me. Maybe it was a year of grief. Maybe it was weeks of mounting terror. But I was done being scared. I was done being the victim in this ghost story. I needed to see it. I needed to face it. Okay, I said, my voice a shaking, defiant whisper to the empty air. I know you're here. Show yourself. The air in the hallway seemed to shimmer, to darken. A shape began to resolve itself out of the gloom. At first, it was the familiar, stooped silhouette of an old man. It was tall, maybe 7 feet, even with its hunched posture. Its arms were long, the gnarled, 3-jointed fingers of its hands brushing against the floorboards. Its body was covered in a thick, matted, greasy black fur. And then it lifted its head, and I saw its face. It wasn't a man's face. It was the long, narrow, bearded head of a goat. Its horns were thick and curved, spiraling back from its narrow skull. But the worst part, the part that finally, completely broke my mind, was its eyes. They weren't the dumb, placid eyes of a farm animal. They were a pair of intelligent, ancient, and utterly malevolent yellow eyes, the pupils horizontal slits, like a serpent's. And they were looking directly at me. A gaze returned. The 10th mark, the final sign. My mother's guardian angel. I didn't scream. The sound was trapped in my throat, a solid, immovable ball of pure terror. We just stared at each other for an eternity across the 20 feet of my brightly lit living room. And in its ancient, yellow eyes, I saw it. The same serene, peaceful, knowing look my mother had on her face when she died. It is my protector, my guardian. It has been with me, a silent, unseen shadow for the past 2 months. It cleared the path for me. It saved me from the fall. It frightened away the dog. And now that I have seen it, it no longer feels the need to hide. I am writing this now from my desk. The sun has come up, but it has brought no comfort, because it's still here. It's standing in the corner of my room by the door. Its stooped, hairy form a black hole in the morning light. It hasn't moved. It just watches. My mother's final words echo in my head. I've never been afraid. He's always been with me. What do I do? How do you escape a guardian angel? How do you run from a protector that will never, ever let any harm come to you, but whose very presence is a fate worse than death? Adro, Narrator, story by you/gamalfrank. Link in description. Subscribe for more haunting tales from r/nosleep, RLD.